1 in 10 Australians could be without a job by June, with the coronavirus crisis predicted to push the nation's unemployment rate to 10%.
But the federal government says the shocking number, not seen since 1994, could have been much worse without the $130 billion JobKeeper package. We're joined now by the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. A very good morning to you, Prime Minister.
G'day, Ali. G'day, Carl.
G'day,
well,
Dan.
unemployment reaching double digits. I mean, it's a bad number, but as we said, it could have been a lot worse.
Well, it's a heartbreaking number. Unemployment at that rate, hundreds of thousands of people losing their jobs. It is just absolutely heartbreaking, but you're right. The JobKeeper program means that we'll be able to limit that devastation. And also we've got the doubling of the JobKeeper program, which means that those who do find themselves unemployed will be able to gain access to a support that we've never seen in this country before.
It could go to 20%, PM, couldn't it?
Well, that's not our advice. What we're seeing in many other countries is far worse. We came into this crisis, which is a dual one, a health crisis and an economic crisis, in pretty strong shape. Our balance sheet was strong, which meant we've been able, and we brought the budget back into balance, which means we're able to do the things we're doing now and cushion that blow. But it's still a big blow. I don't want to lessen that in terms of how we speak of it. It is a serious impact on our economy. It's impacting people's livelihoods, and it's heartbreaking. But despite all of that hardship, Australians have responded so well, and they're doing their best. I mean, what they did over the Easter weekend, like we asked them to, they did, and we are keeping on top of this virus, but we've got to keep keeping on top of it and providing the economic supports that we can, the lifeline that we've provided through JobKeeper and JobSeeker to get people through to the other side.
Will you consider expanding the JobKeeper program to include those casuals not currently covered or even foreign workers?
Now, we've got to draw the line somewhere, and that's what the JobKeeper Seeker program is for. For those who aren't eligible for JobKeeper, then we've doubled the rate of JobSeeker, and they also get access to things like rental assistance and a range of other benefits, which means that they're certainly not forgotten. There is the strongest social safety net we've ever seen in this country for those who are out of work is now in place. And then we've got the JobKeeper program to keep 6 million Australians connected to their employer. And so this is unprecedented in its scale. I mean, over $200 billion now has been committed to supporting our economy, for people in the economy, their businesses, their jobs, to get through to the other side.
PM, the Ruby Princess has been an unmitigated disaster for this country. Do you support an independent inquiry into what went wrong? I mean, Tasmania is now dealing with some of those consequences.
Look, there are a lot of complications that have come from that rather terrible event. But what we've got to do is there are going to be failures in the middle of a crisis. And there certainly has been here. No one's walking away from that. But we've got to keep focus on the next set of problems. And the problems down in Tasmania, there are a range of issues there. I spoke to the Premier on the weekend, and we've sent the Defence Forces there to support, as well as the AUSMAT teams to support them in northwestern Tasmania. And this is very important. But we've got to, as we work through this crisis, we can't allow ourselves to get bogged down in everything that hasn't gone right. There will be things that don't go right. There's so many more things are going well. And in particular, the work of our health authorities and those who are doing amazing work all around the country. I mean, I've got 6,000 extra people processing job seeker claims, and that's the redeployment of public servants from other areas of work, hiring more people into the job to ensure that we can get that support to people as quickly as possible. We've got to keep looking forward, Carl.
When will you start looking at easing the restrictions with the lockdown, and what will that look like in its early stages?
Well, we've got to not get ahead of ourselves here. The National Cabinet later this week are doing a lot of work over the last week or so in particular to look at the sort of prerequisites, the things that need to happen before you can start considering that. You've seen in places like Singapore and Sweden and other parts of the world where the virus has just taken off again. And we can't have those sort of things happen here in Australia. We've got to do everything to prevent that. We've learned a lot over the last few weeks. And when we can get a health system to even a higher level of response, we've got one of the strongest testing regimes in the world, but it would need to be stronger still to ensure that we can stay on top of any outbreak in the future and the immediate response capacity to outbreaks, wherever they might come. We've got to be able to slap down on these things very hard if we're to look at easing of restrictions. So we are looking at how that can be achieved, but I wouldn't want to mislead people. We're still many weeks in to go on this, And that's important to keep on top of the virus. And while people have been amazing in complying with what we've been asking for, we can't allow that to be eroded by being premature in the easing of any restrictions.
Okay, a couple of quick ones, but really important ones. Are you going to bail out Virgin and help Qantas? I'm hearing Virgin is very close to perhaps going into administration. Will you throw them a lifeline?
Well, we've been very consistent in that the support we've provided the economy has been sector-wide. We haven't been picking any winners or picking any favourites here. And what we've been doing is ensuring we're getting sector-wide support, which have been already quite significant to the aviation sector. The Transport Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, has been working with those airlines around domestic trunk routes. So they've already worked together with them on international routes that are vital, not just bringing people home or getting people to their homes, but also to support much-needed freight and transfer of medical supplies. And so we'll continue to deal with the sector on a sector-wide basis.
What about the NRL starting back in late May? I mean, I know no one wants to see the Sharkies back more than you, but is it a bad look for the game?
Well, I like the ambition. I like that they're planning to try and get the show back on the road, at least in some form, and that's what we're all trying to do. That's what the National Cabinet will be doing this Thursday as we look at what needs to be done further to shore us up further so we can look at restrictions easing at some point. And the NRL are doing no different to that, and I like they've got an ambitious date, but it'll be subject to the health advice. There'll be no special set of arrangements. The health advice is paramount, and I'm sure they'll comply with it.
One final one before we get to the news. The World Health Authority, our favourite authority, they've backed the reopening of wet markets where this virus is supposed to have originally come from. Your thoughts? And be nice.
Well, I think that's unfathomable, frankly. I mean, we need to protect the world against potential sources of outbreaks of these types of viruses. And look, it's happened too many times. I'm totally puzzled by this decision. I mean, we don't have them here in Australia, and I'm just puzzled by that decision. But we've got to stay focused on what's right in front of us and what we're doing here in Australia, and the policies we're putting in place, the big responses economically and health-wise, and keep communicating and encouraging people. I hear you've got Claudia from Coorparoo coming on the program this morning.
Yes.
She sent me in a question the other day. She misses being able to see her grandmother. I understand that. I know there are a lot of kids going through this and grandparents separated from their grandkids. It's terribly hard on Australians, but they're responding well, and I want to thank them again for the great work they did over Easter. Keep going, Australia, doing a great job. We've got to keep doing it to keep us all safe and to get ourselves back on track, which we will.
As you are too, Prime Minister. Thank you for your time. And we did love that interview with Claudia you're talking about, that you did a podcast with a whole bunch of kids who could write in questions and you answered them directly. So well done you for doing that.
Thanks, Peter.
Oh, thanks, Sally. It was good chatting to them. All the best.
Good questions, by the way. I wrote a few of them down.
They were. They were.
So smart, kids these days. Okay, it's news time. Here's Alex.